Hey there, welcome to the Winx Forever podcast. I'm Lola, creator, host, and lifelong Winx fan. I'm taking a deep dive into the very cool universe of Winx Club. So whether you've been a Winx fan since 2004, like myself, or you vaguely remember it from your childhood, or even if you're being introduced to it for the first time, I want to say welcome. This is the Winx Forever podcast. Hello, fairy friends. Welcome back to the Winx Forever podcast. I am your host, Lola Valentine. So as you know, it is 20 years of Winx Club. 2004 was the first time Winx Club ever aired on televisions worldwide, and we are celebrating it in 2024. We have all year, and it's been super fun, but the year's not over. And so with this special run of episodes, I am going through the timeline of Winx Club that I have compiled this timeline for like the past year, maybe over a year. I talked about it in the first episode of the series where I gave this talk at MomoCon this year in Atlanta, Georgia, but I also have an abridged version of this timeline inside of the Winx Club fan project that I worked on with my friends Jake and Ella and a whole bunch of other people, called the Magical Memories magazine. A lot of research went into this. I still probably got it a little wrong because, I mean, it's been 20 years. This show has been around for a long time, and there's, broken links everywhere. There's things that like people remember but like can't remember like why they remember it that way, or there's things that they attribute to like as fact, but it's messy. And so this is just me trying to make a conservative effort to, one, preserve some of this information, but also to like make sense of it. Like, this is a messy franchise to some degree, and I'm just out here trying to make sense of it. One of the things that somebody pointed out last week was that we actually don't know in the Magic Bloom pilot where the information that Musa was called Lisa and Techno was called Tina. We think that that's just a fan theory. Like, we think that a fan just gave those and it's just been passed along throughout the fandom for years and years, and now we just kind of, I for sure thought it was fact, but no, like, given the fact that Rainbow and Genio have come out and talked openly about Magic Bloom, in this year specifically, and now we've got the art book that came out this past month too, the official Winx Club art book of the early seasons and development. There's no mention of Tina or Lisa, which I think is so funny. And it's just, one, it validates kind of like what I'm doing here of trying to consolidate all of this information and get it right. But I also think that we'll never truly get it right. And I think that there's like some fun in that as well. So yeah. Also, I wanted to point out, I thought this was so funny and also kind of serendipitous. I was going back, and this is scary. I was going back and listening to some of my very, very first episodes, and literally like one of my first episodes, I think it was like maybe like 8 to 10 minutes long. And it was like a brief overview of Winx Club, like catching people up if they've like been gone for a while, but also like giving people resources of like, how to watch Winx Club, things like that. I thought it was so funny because in it, I was like, I'm not going to do a full deep dive. Like, other people do it better. Da, 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 da. And now here I am like 4 years later, like doing a deep dive of the Winx Club timeline and franchise. Like, that is so funny to me. So welcome. We've come a long way, and I'm really excited to dive into this golden era of Winx Club. But thank you for coming along this journey. So as we continue our journey through 20 years of Winx Club, 20 years of magic, if you will, we find ourselves in the golden era of Winx Club. This is going to be 2004 up until 2009. And just like the native metal, this era was precious, never to be replicated again. Unfortunately, for casual American fans, this is going to be the only era we probably recall before the Nickelodeon reintroduction of the series in the Nickelodeon era starting in mid 2011. So it's quite a ways after this golden era that we're going to dive into. So for the golden era, we have many milestones because it spans a very long chunk of time. We have in this span of time, we have seasons 1, 2, and 3, the first film, and also a ton of stuff in between. So let's get into it. So in 2004, starting off in January 28th, Winx Club had its world premiere on Italian television on the channel Rai 2. This is the first season that introduced viewers to the magical world of Magix, where 5 fairy friends attend Alphia College and would follow their adventures as they grow in power and friendship. The premiere marked the beginning of the series that would go on to capture the hearts of audiences worldwide for 20 years. The final look of the series is definitely inspired by the magical girl genre of Japanese anime with a mix of European influences, which Junio would go on to call the trademark rainbow style of animation. Of course, January 28th is the anniversary date that we all celebrate as Winx fans every year as the quote-unquote birthday of Winx Club. Shortly after the release of the first season of Winx Club in Italy, in March of 2004, Winx Club would release the first issue of the Winx Club magazine. The Winx Club magazine is a monthly magazine-style publication featuring a comic series starring, of course, the Winx. This magazine was not just like any teen magazine, it was teen magazines, but with fairies. It featured 44 pages of comics and columns that were all super colorful, and they would give fashion advice, music advice, natural remedies, stuff about technology, of course, and beauty. Everything was also accompanied by a very original fairy horoscope, which is super cute. You can still find the Winx fairy horoscope on I believe on the website. If not, you can find it on old versions of the website. Often the magazine releases would include an extra gift, which would be anything from stationery or a small figurine of one of the Winx girls to like handbags and small gadgets featuring images of the Winx. To this day, the Winx Club magazine continues as a monthly publication in Italy and Russia, while in Germany they've reduced the release to every 2 months, starting with April's issue from 2023. And as of August 2024, they have over 240 issues that have been produced in Italy and various other European countries. I think that a lot of people don't realize the impact of Winx, not just as a series, but through these comics. The comic series was different than the show. It had a different canon, different characters, and honestly different lore. And it's really fun to deep dive into. I'll have to have my friend Dane on soon to talk about the magazines that he's acquired and just do a full deep dive into them, because I think it's really worth it and something that, casual Winx fans don't really pay much attention to. But I think that it's kind of a sad overlooked part of the fandom because, one, the Winx magazines were super hard to get, especially the older ones now. But two, I don't know, in America we didn't have these, right? We didn't get the magazine published here. We only had, I think in the early years, like in this golden era, we only had the first, I want to say 4 magazines, maybe 5. But I only know of the 4. And they were Americanized, obviously, so they were with an American publisher. They had different articles, different things, but they all had the same comics like they did in Europe. I loved these. I read through them so much. I remember a summer where my friend Sarah and I just stayed outside, like, you know, coloring pictures based off of the, you know, pictures that were in the magazine and reading each other the horoscopes and stuff. And we would do this for hours, and it was so much fun, and it was just so magical to experience that through like a tangible thing like a magazine. And I wish that we had gotten more of them. The fact that the magazine stopped after 4 issues is really sad for me as an American Winx fan. I do appreciate the effort that Rainbow is going through to kind of republish these comics in the States here through their paper cuts redistribution, but we'll see how that pans out here in the future. But yeah, the Winx comics, they're really cool. You're listening to the Winx Forever podcast. And of course, you can't talk about Winx Club's golden era without discussing the Disney lawsuit. So in 2004, just as Winx Club began to make its debut on televisions across the globe, there was another Italian magical girl series that was emerging called Witch. Witch was a comic book series following a group of friends who were secretly fairies and was premiering a cartoon adaptation by the Walt Disney Company in the early 2000s. Due to the few plot points that Witch and Winx Club had in common, namely the popular magical girl tropes of transformation sequences and the red-headed lead female protagonist, the company accused Rainbow of copying the Winx Club concept from the Witch comic book. Disney applied for an injunction order to halt any further release of the Winx Club series and comic magazine, attempting to declare the Winx Club trademark as invalid. In addition, the injunction would have Walt Disney seize the periodical and film material which contained the alleged, quote, invalid, unquote, Winx Club name. Seeing as the Witch comic book was published over a year after the production of Winx Club began, Rainbow actually won the case against Disney. According to Straffy, the production of Winx Club's pilot began in 2000, while the Witch comic wasn't released until May of 2001. By August of 2004, all of Disney's infringement claims were rejected and deemed unfounded. This lawsuit would later become the subject of a commercial law seminar at the University of Macerata in 2009, which I think is so iconic, honestly. When asked how he felt about the legal battle with the, quote, House of Mouse, unquote, in an interview with Io Donna, Eugenio Straffi shared how important it was for a small animation studio such as Rainbow at the time to, quote, defeat, unquote, a major conglomerate such as Disney. He said, quote, I feel a certain pride in having annoyed such a giant. It's inspiring. The lawsuit definitely left a bad taste in the mouth of the Winx creator, as Straffi has seemed to avoid doing any business with the Disney Corporation up until recently. This sentiment was made apparent by the comment he made in a 2014 article stating, quote, they have lost the chance to explore our creativity, unquote. By June 19th of 2004, Winx Club airs in the US on what was known at the time as the Fox Box. This is, of course, when I started watching Winx Club when I was just 9 years old on my local television station. The memories of watching it every Saturday morning was just so sweet. But this was a move to expand Winx Club's reach inside of the United States. As the show made its debut, it aired on the Fox Box, later known as 4Kids TV, and then even later known as the CW 4Kids. The US English dub of the series was produced by the 4Kids Entertainment Group and introduced the series to a broader international viewership, bringing the magical adventures of Bloom and her friends to the new audiences in North America, Australia, and the UK. And contributing to its own growing popularity and setting the stage for future seasons and adaptations. 4Kids TV would go on to successfully dub 3 seasons of Winx Club before their broadcast agreement was permanently revoked by Rainbow in 2009. Despite Eugenio being pretty public about his disapproval of some of the changes that 4Kids made to not only the dialogue but also some of the story of the Winx Club series, to this day, many fans, including myself, from across the globe still praise this dub as one of their favorite English versions of Winx Club. And honestly, I can see why. If you have listened to my podcast for any amount of time, you'll know that I am a big 4Kids stan. I love this company. I love what they did for animation in the United States, but also just the animation industry as a whole in the early 2000s. Really, they introduced a lot of us to foreign properties that we otherwise wouldn't have had access to. And I am so grateful for that. I'm going to get off my soapbox here, but before I do, I will say there's a podcast by voice actress Tara Sands and her co-host Steve Yurko called the 4Kids Flashback podcast, and it is chef's kiss. It's so good. They're going back. They're finding these people that worked at 4Kids in those early days of the animation industry in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I won't say early days of animation, but early days of dubbing. And honestly, hearing their stories, what it was like to be on the cutting edge of like this industry back then. I mean, they dubbed shows like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! and all of these things, and they had Winx Club. Like, those are like major titles that are household recognized names to this day. And the fact that Winx was among them, I think, is really special, and very telling of the capable hands that it was in with the 4Kids team. And so I really do think that people need to chill out on just dunking on 4Kids so much. Listening to the 4Kids Flashback podcast has been really eye-opening of just the process of not only, taking a series from overseas and adapting it for American televisions, and the process of like redubbing and like storytelling and all of this stuff, all of the things that go into it. It's just it's beautiful. It's a beautiful process. And I really think that once people get to know that process, the conversation becomes a little different, and it's no longer just like, oh, why did you change the original? You're so terrible. Like, no, they had a job to do. And honestly, I think that they did it really beautifully. There's a list, an absolute golden list of interviews you should listen to from the 4Kids Flashback podcast that are of producers and writers of the show and voice actresses and actors, people that like worked way behind the scenes, like to produce the music of the show. You just need to listen to it. I will give you a list of people you should listen to from that podcast in the description below. So definitely check that out. But oh my gosh. So shout out to Tara. Love to have you on the show sometime. But yeah. Anyway, that's my soapbox. I will step down. Moving on. By the fall of 2004, Winx Club dolls by major toy company Mattel hit the shelves across America and other European markets. This initial season line of dolls featured characters Bloom, Stella, Flora, Musa, Techna, Icy, and Brandon, aka Prince Sky. If you know, you know. Each doll came with their own accessories, and in the American market, a DVD containing season 1 promo of the Fox box They also featured magnetic wings that lit up when attached to the back of the dolls, as well as bendable, posable arms and legs. Mattel would go on to create a total of 35 doll lines, play sets, and action figures of the Winx Club series, ending the licensing deal in 2009 along with the 4Kids licensing deal. Of note, over in Italy, while the Mattel dolls were hitting shelves in the US and other European countries, Italy had their own exclusive doll manufacturer with Giochio Preziosi, and they were super cute and super exciting for Winx fans. Next year in 2025 for the reboot, we are getting a relaunch of these dolls with Giochio Preziosi. So that's super exciting. Maybe the doll collectors that couldn't get them back in the day will have a chance at them again next year. We travel now to 2005 in the Winx Club Golden Era. By April of 2005, April 19th, Season 2 of Winx Club premiered on Rai 2 in Italy. Fans were delighted when the highly anticipated second season of Winx Club aired on Rai 2. The production of Winx Club Season 2 was a milestone for the beloved animated series. Winx Club's creative team took on the challenge of expanding the magical universe of the fairies. One significant addition to Season 2 was, of course, the introduction of the newest main character, Aisha, or also known as Layla in many dubs. Winx Club also reintroduced the fairy friends with a new doll line to accompany the season's release, allowing the audience to connect with their favorite fairy characters on and off the screen. I probably have told this story multiple times on the podcast by now, but I will tell it yet again for prosperity. The season premiere of Season 2 of Winx Club was such a milestone for me as a Winx fan. I remember it so vividly. It was the weekend of my best friend's birthday, my only friend in the world that even knew what Winx Club was, and it was just so special to get to watch it at her house. For her birthday, I gave her the Pixie Magic Layla doll, and I was so excited when I saw it on the shelves because I was like, this is the new fairy. This is the one that I have to get Sarah, and I was so excited. It would be a few years later that she would like eventually grow out of the series, which is so sad, and I turned her offer down to have her dolls because she offered them to me, and I was so sad and like just beside myself that she didn't even like the show anymore to keep her dolls. And it still hurts to this day. I wish that I had taken her up on that offer, but I don't know. Maybe it's better this way, but what a time. Season 2. Wow. Just wow. Elsewhere in the world in 2005, Winx Club was making some major moves. I'm not sure if American fans will be, especially like casual American fans, will be as privy to some of this that I'm about to talk about, but Winx Club has live stage shows, you guys. In September of 2005, the debut of the Winx Power Show marked a significant success for the iconic animated series. Originating in Italy, the live stage show quickly garnered traction, prompting a successful tour that extended beyond the country's borders to captivate audiences in Belgium, the Netherlands, and Portugal. The show's plot was set in the magical realm of Magix, centered around the skepticism of a young girl named Melissa who doubted the existence of Winx fairies, which is very funny since it was in Magix. Anyway, as Bloom, Flora, Musa, Tecna, and Aisha and Stella descended to Earth, they confronted the aggressive foes, the Tricks, allied with the formidable Lord Darkar. So it was, season 2 themed. Assisted by the young specialists, the Winx faced thrilling duels and overcame all challenges, reaffirming their triumph over evil. The success of the Winx Power Show not only delighted fans, but also showcased the enduring popularity of the versatility of the Winx Club franchise beyond the animated screen. I would have loved to have seen this in person, you know, when I was 10 years old. I know friends that went to this show when they were growing up, and that's so cool, honestly. I honestly can't fathom anything like that. Actually, when I went to Italy this past year for the Winx Club's, 20th anniversary party, it was surreal to see like the Winx actresses like, portraying the Winx on the stage. That was the moment that I got like super emotional. I think like just the whole like day kind of like hit me like out of nowhere, but also just seeing like a stage show, of Winx Club in person at the event was just super surreal, and like thinking about little 10-year-old me stuck in America living in a European franchise that like, it was just like, it was really sweet. Yeah, funny. The Winx Power Show, who knew? That's going to be a recurring theme in these deep dives, because it's that the Winx Power Show is not the only stage show that we get in the Winx Club timeline. So you're listening to the Winx Forever podcast. If you're enjoying this episode of the Winx Forever podcast, be sure to follow the show on your preferred streaming platform so that you're notified when new episodes are dropped. Hello, fairy friends, and happy 20 years of Winx Club. I'm Lola Valentine, and I am happy to say that the biggest Winx Club fan project to date is now available for free at magicalmemorieszine.com. It is 354 pages of pure nostalgic Winx fun, and I hope that you check it out. We had a blast making it. It took us over a year to plan it and gather fan stories from across the world, your stories from across the world of growing up with Winx Club over the past 20 years. And it's just been such an honor to get to create this love letter for the fandom. So thanks for being a Winx fan, and we hope that you enjoy the Magical Memories fanzine. Download it now for free on magicalmemorieszine.com. Ooh, but I have to talk about the Winx Club game, you guys. So in November of 2005, so November 16th, 2005, Winx Club made their first ever video game debut on Windows, PlayStation 2, and Game Boy Advance. This marked the initiation of a series of video games licensed and produced for the Winx Club franchise in subsequent years. But this immersive gaming experience, largely following the plot of season 1 with some modifications for runtime considerations, garnered enduring popularity amongst fans worldwide. I mean, this adaptation of season 1 of the animated series, it was wild. It still is wild. You can find it it's pretty available actually, like on eBay and like, resale sites like that. I've not ever seen a PlayStation 2 copy of it personally. Like growing up, I had the Game Boy Advance cartridge for it. I got it, I think, for my birthday the following year. That sounds right. And I played that thing so much. I played it so much. Oh my goodness. It was probably my most played video game ever. I mean, I had my, Game Boy Advance SP, like I had the backlit, Game Boy Advance, and it was just so much fun to play. And it had 4Kids cutscenes in it. So basically the PC and PlayStation versions had voiced dialogue by characters from the 4Kids dub and unlockable like alternative outfits for Bloom and like other elements reminiscent of like dating simulation games, which was so cute. But the Game Boy Advance version closely mirrors like 3D versions in terms of like gameplay progression, battle mechanics, and other like side quests. The enthusiastic like reception of fans like of this game like persists to this day. I mean, we play it still, like people stream it online, people do like what is it, playthroughs, or like what's the other one where like you do it like you try and go super fast, a speed run. People do speed runs of this game. It's so funny. Yeah, but the fact that they had cutscenes from the 4Kids dub, the fact that they had 4Kids actors and actresses dubbing this game, it was just so iconic. Like, I would get to certain parts of the game just to watch that little snippet or that little clip of my favorite show. Oh my gosh, it's so cool. I might go, gosh, after talking about it so much, I might go play it after I record this podcast, honestly. A few years ago, a sweet fairy friend, Jenna, otherwise known as Sorcelin on Instagram, was so kind and sent me all of her collection of Winx Club video games. And in it literally was the PC version of the Winx Club game. I'd never played the PC version until she was so gracious to give me that copy. And oh my gosh, it's a little hard to play. I probably need to like find a controller to like configure for it, but I love it. Like experiencing it for the first time is just so special in that way, because I always had the Game Boy Advance game. But wow, so cute. This game really like, it's so nostalgic for me, as you can probably tell. Moving on to 2006. So not a lot happens in 2005. If I'm missing milestone moments that happened in 2005, definitely hit me up, like, comment below, whatever. But we're moving on to 2006. So this is pretty wild. Up until 2006, up until season 3, every Winx Club premiere, like season 1 and season 2, had only been in Italy. Until September 30th, 2006, season 3 of Winx Club premiered in the US on 4Kids TV for the first time ever. This was the first time that Winx Club would be premiered outside of Italy. I think that's major. They don't want to talk about this, but it was, because it wasn't premiered in Italy until 5 months later, on January 29th. How absolutely wild is that? Oh my gosh. So more about this premiere. Winx Club premiered the 3rd season on the 4Kids cartoon block. Unfortunately, as a result of losing the license to dub the show, 4Kids did promote season 3 as the series finale of Winx Club in the US. So this was the last season to air on the US televisions until 2011, when Nickelodeon became a co-producer of the show and reintroduced it to the States. Of course, this 3rd season follows the Winx Club during their 3rd and final year of Alphea College for Fairies, as they endeavor to achieve the powerful Enchantix transformation. This season's rich storytelling, character growth, and exploration of profound themes resonated deeply with fans, making it a cherished and unforgettable chapter in the Winx Club saga. I love this season. I do remember, profoundly remember, watching the trailers of, season 3 and hearing that it was the series finale on 4Kids TV, and I was devastated. I was contacting Rainbow. I was contacting 4Kids TV. I was literally emailing anybody I could. I stood up a petition on the 4Kids forums to get Winx Club to stay in the US, to come back, and to, I was so upset that they were ending it. But then I learned about how they would continue the series later on, and how they weren't ending the series, they were just ending their contract with 4Kids. There is a rumor that Rainbow wanted out of their 4Kids deal so bad that, and this is just a rumor, I cannot confirm nor deny any of this, but there is a rumor that Rainbow wanted out of the 4Kids deal so bad that they gave 4Kids the polished, like a very rough draft of the animation for season 3. And that's why season 3 of 4Kids dub looks the way that it looks. Some of it's wonky, some of it's a little what happened there, with the animation. It's because it's a rough draft. And so they did that, and they pushed out they allowed it to premiere first in the US before it premiered in Italy, because they just wanted them to air the episodes and be done. Again, this is allegedly. Does it track with what we know with how Eugenio felt about the 4Kids dub? Yes, it does kind of, it does track, but it's it's hard for me to come to terms with, though, as a 4Kids fan, and knowing that the creator of the show that you love hated the version of the show that introduced you to the series, and that's a little hard. That's a tough pill to swallow. Again, okay, stepping back up on my soapbox real quick. I did learn from the 4Kids Flashback podcast that 4Kids actually had a lot more involvement with Rainbow and with Winx Club's writing team than Rainbow probably wants to let on. And that might be a whole that might be a whole different episode, honestly. That might be a totally different topic for a different time, but I'm just gonna put that little piece of information there. You should definitely go listen to the episodes that I recommend down below for 4Kids Flashback, but just gonna leave that there. All right. Moving on. You're listening to the Winx Forever podcast. So 2006 is when things get kind of interesting, right? So we have this season premiere of Winx Club in the US, late 2006. Winx Club will then air its third season in Italy in January 29th of 2007. During that time, what's happening in Italy? I'll tell you what's happening in Italy. Rainbow CGI, the subsidiary focused on film production, visual effects, and 3D animation, was founded in October of 2006. So Winx Club is making moves. Rainbow is making moves into what would happen then in 2007, which we will talk about. So November 30th of 2007, Winx Club, The Secret of the Lost Kingdom premieres at Rome Film Festival. November 30th, 2007 marked the premiere of the Winx Club Secret of the Lost Kingdom film, feature-length film. Yes, you heard that right. The narrative was intricately planned by creator Eugenio Straffi and resolved many key plot points of the original Winx Club series and solidified its place as Bloom's quest for her birth parents came to a close with this film. I have goosebumps talking about this. So Straffi's vision for an overarching plot culminating after a maximum of 78 episodes, like this movie marks the end of what would be known as the golden era of the Winx Club franchise by its fans across the world. Rainbow SPA presented the film at the Rome Film Festival in 2007, and at the 2007 Rome Film Fest premiere, a live-action dance show further heightened the excitement down the red carpet premiere. The film was also the first ever CGI feature-length film to be produced fully in Italy, which... that is so cool. Like, what? Like, if you told me, like, I mean, I would know, but like, if I asked like somebody on the street, like, do you know what the first CGI feature-length film ever produced in Italy was? Like, do you know? I don't think a lot of people could tell you. I mean, maybe Italians might be able to tell you. I don't know. I think that's a cool trivia fact. The film hit Italian cinemas as it quickly became a sensation, attracting over 400,000 viewers in its first week and earning over €1 million, and that's like roughly like 3 million USD today. This marked the biggest opening for an animated film in Italy. It was then released on DVD in Italy in March of 2008, and the film continued to capture audiences internationally with subsequent releases in Russia and Germany. Also to note, Secret of the Lost Kingdom featured an enchanting soundtrack and debuted Elisa Roselli's many lyrical gems that introduced Winx Club to a whole new era of musical media. The film also features Australian-Italian singer Natalia Imbruglia lending her voice to the song All the Magic, the only song on the soundtrack not sung by Elisa. Crazy. Crazy. There's a little bit more. In this golden era, and then we are to the classical era already, and that's pretty crazy. I do want to talk about real quick. Since 4Kids lost the licensing for Winx Club, they didn't have the rights to dub this movie. So The Secret of the Lost Kingdom did not make it to America in 2007, which is so sad for me and every other Winx fan that really wanted this movie. We didn't get it until in America until the Nickelodeon era, which is insane. And that's a watered down version of the original film, which is also sad. But we didn't have any access to this. This didn't premiere in cinemas in our country. Like, we were just kind of like left out to dry, which is really sad. I said that, the golden era was kind of the time that Winx fans in America would remember the most, but I had to include Secret of the Lost Kingdom in the golden era of Winx because it still, I feel like, encapsulates that era. But yeah, we would not see Secret of the Lost Kingdom until Nickelodeon dub years and years later, which is just crazy. I would like rewatch the like bootleg like upload that someone posted online somewhere of the Italian dub. Like, it was so funny. Like, I would watch it online in Italian. I would not have any idea what they would say, and I just remember just like, oh, thinking that it was the coolest thing ever that Winx Club was made into a feature-length film, that they had like a premiere in Rome. Like, that's so, at the Rome Film Festival, like, oh my gosh, they had at their premiere, you know, those the Winx Club dancers. Oh my gosh, I had these photos as my like family computer, like desktop, like backgrounds. Like, they were beautiful, and like I loved it. I think that was the first time I'd ever like seen like people dressed up as Winx Club before, like in those images, and it was just, I don't know, something about all of that, like time is very nostalgic. Like, I was just like getting onto the internet really, like not just then, but like, because I'd been on like 4Kids forums as well. But yeah, I don't know, it's just such a like a early days of the internet, super like nostalgic. You are listening to the Winx Forever podcast. If you're enjoying this episode of the Winx Forever podcast, be sure to follow the show on your preferred streaming platform so that you're notified when new episodes are dropped. We're so close. So in 2008, it's fresh off of, you know, the premiere of the Secret of Lost Kingdom in 2007. You know, there's a lot of Secret of Lost Kingdom merch in the like in Italy and like other like European countries, but not a ton. We also got the, you know, DVD release of Secret of Lost Kingdom in March of 2008. But by November of 2008, Winx Club gets a new show. And I don't mean an animated one. The enchanting Winx on Ice tour took center stage in Milan on November 6, 2008. The show captivated audiences with spellbinding performance by Italian Olympic figure skater Carolina Costner as a magical journey starring the Winx fairies unfolded. Carolina's character was an inspiring fairy of poetry faced with the nefarious schemes of the tricks, obviously. Carolina's adventures with a magic diary ensued, where her every written word came to life. The captivating narrative took the audience through a fantastical voyage, encountering ice monsters and giant spiders and bewitched books. The Winx and the Specialists embark on a quest to save Carolina from the clutches of the tricks and the malevolent Valtor, the Lord of Evil, obviously. Carolina's struggle with the misuse of her diary's powers created a compelling storyline that resonated with fans. Oh, so cute. The show, which ran in Italy from November 2008 to January 2009, across cities like Milan, Genoa, Bologna, Bolzano, Padova, and Naples, and Turin, and Rome, enjoyed immense success with fans. Its popularity extended beyond Italy with a second set of tour dates in 2010, taking Winx on Ice to Moscow, Lugano, Libsyn, and Paris before concluding with a triumphant return to Milan in April of 2010. The Winx on Ice show not only showcased creativity of the Winx Club world, but also became a beloved and immersive experience by fans across Europe. And I think that is so cool. I love also the soundtrack for this show. It's very ethereal. It's very Christmassy. It's very like, I don't know. I've only heard it because our friend Stella's Winx Club like shares it sometimes like via her YouTube channel. But I love this soundtrack. And even though I didn't get personally introduced to it until like a few years ago, I mean, it feels kind of nostalgic in a way. I don't know, it's weird. I think it's beautiful. And that will conclude the journey through the golden era of Winx Club, which was 2004 to 2009. So super crazy, super crazy. The next time we will go through the classical era of Winx Club, which will be 2009 to 2011. Lots and lots to talk about in that period of time. Lots of nostalgic things for myself. Really excited to kind of deep dive into those. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about what we've discussed today. Like, what you remember from the golden era of Winx Club. This was early days, like the first days of Winx Club, the first years of Winx Club. You know, they're kind of getting their footing, but it was also new and fresh and magical. I remember seeing these girls for the first time and being like, what is this? Like, I loved Sailor Moon. I loved Pokemon. Like, I loved any kind of like fun, magical series and like bright colors and stuff. But like the Winx Club, seeing them for the first time, oh my God, like I can't even... I can't even, it's so fun to like put yourself back into where you were the first time that you saw Winx Club anywhere. For me, it was on a ad in a magazine at my dentist office. And it was so fun because like, I just remember so vividly like this magazine ad and thinking like, oh man, I've got to find more out about this. And I want to talk to whoever placed that ad in that magazine from 4Kids, because I know that they did it. Like, I know that some marketing manager there like created that ad, and then, you know, and little me found it, and I just want to shake their hand. That's so nerdy, but it's so cute. And yeah, just like remembering the first time. Anyway, yeah, tell me about your first time you ever saw Winx Club in the comments. I'd love to know. I'd love to hear what your experience was like. Yeah. Wow, I am emotional. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope that you'll join me next time as we go through the classical era of Winx Club. But until then, I am Lola Valentine, and this is the Winx Forever Podcast. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode of the Winx Forever Podcast, be sure to follow on your preferred streaming platform so that you're notified when new episodes are released. The theme for the Winx Forever Podcast is the song She Makes Magic by Big Wild.